Hello everyone, welcome back. So I wanted to take you through, so the full moon lunar eclipse is happening on March 25th. So I thought it would be nice if I could take you through the houses. So if you want to bring out your chart, bust out your natal chart, and get some paper and take some notes, I think this will be useful for you. But as long as you have your chart, it'll be accurate. So hold on and I'll bring the camera over my table and we'll go through this one house at a time. Okay, hold on. Okay, so I wanted to go over a few things before I dive into all the information, but of course you can see this is a Libra lunar eclipse, 5 degrees it's coming in, March 25th at 12 a.m., midnight Pacific time, so adjust to your time zone. I do have the chart set at 0 degrees Aries so that you can see the natural zodiac. But if you run your chart according to your time zone, it'll, of course, it'll fill in the houses in your natal chart. So, that's an important point. And then rules around eclipses. Well, they can bring in events about, anywhere between 2 weeks to 8 weeks before they come, and sometimes they can be quite life-changing. They do happen about every 6 months around the nodes of the moon, and we can look at them as being guideposts to keep us either on our path or get us on our life path. Now, with a lunar eclipse, the events are always going to be more internal. All lunar eclipses are full moons, so there may be something to release or to be very aware of. And sometimes it's usually a combination of both. You'll be releasing some things that haven't been working, or maybe a lot of things will come to a head. But for the most part, you're going to be more aware of all the things that you're feeling, right? And also, projects that you've been working on can come to a fullness. Or problems with projects can come to a head. They can be very powerful in bringing things, events, and people into our lives, or releasing things that aren't working. Definitely, the moons are always related, no matter what phase they're in, they're always related to the past and our moods. So we could be releasing things from the past and maybe issues with people from the past, past issues we had with people, so things can start fresh. But usually with the full moon lunar eclipse, we do have a reason to celebrate, because the moon relates to all things emotional. We need to just, no matter what's going on, allow ourselves to have our emotional reactions when they come up. As long as we're not hurting ourselves or anyone else, we're doing good. But the deal is, we need to allow ourselves to feel whatever's coming up so we can process it through and heal it. And then from there, all of our body, because the moon definitely rules the body, all of our psychic processes, our psyche, our intuitive processes, all that pure flow can start coming through as we heal. So then we're in the pure feelings flow, basically. And that's when you're in your natural intuitive self, coming from your natural intuitive flow, I suppose would be a better way to say it. Now, the moon also relates to our families, our homes, our day-to-day habits, the way we respond to life, as well as the public mood and public happenings. So, just suffice to say that all things will come to a head so that we can't miss them when we have a full moon. And this being in Libra, we're in Venusian territory, so it's all things related to our value systems, what we value the most, and that is usually related to to money and relationships. So issues we may want to be releasing related to the negative side of this, of Libra, could have to do with dependency and codependency patterns in relationships. and I'll get more into that later on. But so back to the rules, without getting off track here before I switch to another chart. I like to use orbs. So in your natal chart, I like to use orbs of 2 degrees for the opposition. So you find where Libra is at 5 degrees in your chart, and we're going to want to use 2 to 3 degrees for the conjunction or the opposition. So we're in the Aries Libra polarity. So if you have any planets or hot points in the range of 2 degrees to 8 degrees of Libra or Aries, this is going to be an important lunation for you. And you might, if you want to fudge with it a degree or 2 up or down with that, play with it and see if it works out for you. But I found for me it tends to be those 2 to 3 degrees. Some people do use 3 to 5, even upwards to 7. So, you can adjust accordingly. So for squares, though, I do hold to a general rule of only, 1 degree of an orb. So that would be, and only to the luminaries. So if you have if the full moon in Libra brings in a square to either your sun or your moon in Cancer or Capricorn, then this lunation can be really important. It can be a bit challenging between the tension field and the related houses, but as you work with it, you'll find a much greater strength. Squares always bring in the opportunity for strengths. So yeah, and then I'll take you through the houses when we get there. But let's look at the backdrop. So two of the important things, are that we have stelliums. And so 3 or more planets in the signs of, Pisces finishing up things. So if you've been having dreams or thinking a lot about relationships in the past, or thinking about these new spiritual foundations that you've been working to build, you're right in there. I mean, this is the way it is. If you have people in your life who have been pulling on you too much, kind of triggering things because maybe they're not present with what's going. These would be like close personal relationships. So if they're not, and I'm speaking to Aries and Pisces, if they're not present with what's going on with you and it's more about them, if there's a demand coming in, you might be a little hypersensitive about it, and people pulling on you. Or if you've had relationships in the past where they've been, coming from this perspective of, I'm just, if it's been going on for years, people with Pisces, we can be dealing with the dark side. It can be, being very gullible sometimes, and then they're projecting all of their fears onto you. But they can also be feeling like a victim, and so they're always reaching out to other people to rescue them. And if you've been in a relationship like that where you've been doing it for quite some time, it's really going to come to a head with this full moon in Libra. And I'll show you why when I get to the other charts. But with all the Aries energy, you're going to want freedom. You're going to want to move forward. We have so much going on in that department. And so we're talking karmic dependence, codependence issues, and then the freedom from. Because we're wanting to move forward. There's so much more going on in the department of self-assertion and moving forward, being on your own. Independence would be key words here with the Aries. So let's go ahead and move forward then. Now, here's the polarity going on, and I already spoke about that, so this is probably, actually, I can dive into it a little deeper. So the polarity between Aries and Libra, which is where we've been with the nodes. So none of this will seem like anything new to you, but there's a heightened, whenever we have a full moon, we have a heightened spotlight on our emotional bodies, and our feelings are really up. And the sun is over here shining its light in Aries, and this is just days after the first day of spring, which I actually no, maybe it's the one day before. I haven't. See, that's the thing, is I haven't done the transits for the 18th to the 24th yet. I'm doing that tomorrow, but I wanted to get this in. I probably should have done those today and done this tomorrow, but leave it to me to do things backwards. So anywho, the first day of spring, well, no, it would have been 0 degrees Aries, so it's probably, I don't know, coming in maybe Monday before this week. It doesn't matter. But we're already, like, okay, it's time to go. It's time to move on. Mars rules Aries, right? So Mars, just think of directional focus and what motivates you. What is it that you really want in life? What would you fight for, right? What is activating within you? What are you feeling really enthusiastic about? That's always the question with both Mars and Aries. Now, the good thing about this polarity is that we can create win-win type of situations within relationships that are trustworthy. So we're going to be seeing who's trustworthy and who's not, who's trying to just demand something from you and not give and take. All of those things, that polarity with Aries and Libra is very important. And so on one side, we're kind of leading with our heads kind of like, pushing. On the other side, we're like, hey, wait a minute, this doesn't feel good, right? So it depends on which side you're on, and it's a good time to work things out, right? It's a good time for Libras to come into their power and say whatever they need to say. Libras are really good for relating and very stimulating in relationships. They're really good with engaging. It is the relationship sign of the zodiac. So we can be self-reflecting around maybe ways that people haven't been sharing with us because they're just interjecting, excuse me, their own energy or their own wants and needs, and then it's not reciprocal. Those types of issues can come up. So that's a major focus there. Now, another main thing, there's a few, but the one that really caught my eye. So while we're having a full moon, we're also having the same day, same time, exact same time, and this is a tight orb. When we have a YOD, when we have two inconjuncts, two quincunxes, whichever way you want to describe it, short term, it's short for adjustments. We're needing to make two adjustments pointing to the past. So relationships in the past. Remember, Venus rules the south node here. It's everything to do with the past relationships, money, finances, partnerships of any type. And like I said, those dependency, codependency dynamics, me versus you kind of thing, us versus them. And the adjustments are if you can make the adjustment to the past, to get this area of your life really clean and functioning as much as you can. I mean, without controlling anybody. It's all about only controlling ourselves, right? What do we engage in, or whom do we engage with, or not? And so we're talking healthy boundaries here. We're talking the openness as well. But the adjustment to open to and take advantage of the sextile here, which brings in the opportunities, are connected to Jupiter expanding and moving forward in ways that bring in more bliss and happiness. With Taurus, it's all things about the things that you actually have. Your ability to magnetize more, your ability to be protected, to protect yourself, opportunities that bring in things that you value more and more, right? And if there's a relationship over here that's been really, pulling on you, you're probably going to let go, because this is, look at 15 degrees, 15 degrees here. This is a tight orb. Inconjunct quincunxes that have a rule of like 0 to 3 degrees, in aspect. So this is really tight. And then here we are over here with Venus. Now, of course, Venus rules Libra and Venus rules Taurus. So we've got, it's like we could say that Venus is really ruling this whole ship, right? Venus, again, is connected to all the things that bring in more harmony in our life, things that bring in more beauty, more, we're making comparison values. We're trying to decide, like, what do we really want? What do we really value? What could bring in the things that, give value in your life? It rules our relationships, our pleasure, the pleasure that we have in life. It rules our self-worth. It rules also what tastes we have, and our attitudes towards women and all, female, all the feminine principles. That we could say the divine feminine is ruling this aspect here. This YOD is a finger of God, okay? And it's pointing to the past, ruled by Venus, and it's all about relating. Are you in a relationship where you always want to meet somebody in the middle on that bridge, Like when you think of them, you would just, there's never any. I feel this way about my friend Lisa over at Spirit Intuitive Tarot. Anytime as long as my phone isn't off, like it's off now, so if she texts me now, I'm not gonna see it. But any other time, and she tends to have that intuitive sense of not texting me during the times I'm working, probably because she's working too. But unless it's something major, funny or it's just anything good, it's like she tends to connect with me with the good things and the funny things, and the other things we're kind of just letting it roll off of us. That's the kind of relationship I have with her. So there's like no reservation in that connection with like meeting her halfway on the bridge, right? That's what I'm talking about there. So if you have relationships like that, then things are going to get even better. Because there's a developed, wonderful thing from the past. So Venus in Pisces now, we have to bring in the element of Pisces. So in the sign of Pisces, we're talking healing. We're talking everything that includes. Pisces energy is very inclusive. It has a flow to it, and it tends to evolve our spirits. It brings in opportunities to be in more touch with your spirit because it feels good that way. So spiritual connections and opportunities to grow in the physical realm with spiritual connections. The only challenge to this, if there would be one, is, if we overindulge in something, right? So, yeah. So that's a backdrop. This is a really important backdrop here. Okay, now the next one this one's the challenging one, and this is Ceres up here at the top. Okay, so Ceres is a dwarf planet, just like Pluto and just like Eris. And mind you, the backdrop with Pluto in Aquarius is right up there in the freedom-loving department. So, and making connections, friendships, new connections, things like that. So Ceres up here in this T-square to the nodes, and also involving Chiron, right? Because we've got only 3 degrees of separation with the node here, the north node. So remember, when I say south node, think past. When I say north node, think future. So we're all headed towards more independence, and either healing our deepest wounding, or all the steps we take, all the work we do to heal our deepest wounding, our deepest inner conflicts that are dualistic in nature. And I talk about that so much. I don't know if I'm going to go into it now, but it's I talk about it all the time in my daily tarot readings, and a lot in the weekly astrological transits too. So when you work through your deepest inner wounding with wherever Chiron is in your chart, whatever house placement and the aspects to, and whatever, the ruler is of the sign of your Chiron, you look at all those things, and that gives clues as to where you feel the most wounded, right? No matter what it is, it's always going to be something that deals with your self-worth. And so the more you work on healing your deepest inner conflicts, deepest traumas, all of that, then your gifts come through. And those are the gifts you give to not only yourself, but to others. And it just comes through naturally. There's nothing that you have to do to work it through. You work on the wounding, and the gifts just bubble up right behind it. It's like buried treasure, and you've cleaned it up. Or it's like pulling weeds in the garden so that the flowers can bloom or the vegetables can grow. Okay? So with Ceres up here at the top of this T-square, we're dealing with issues from the past that can block you from moving forward into the future, that have to do with your maternal imprint. Ceres is all about our maternal imprint. So whatever your relationship was with your mother or whoever the caretaker was that was, as the mothering role for you. Ceres rules all things related to nurturing, so that's the food we take in, it's all the transitions that women go through during their lives. And it also rules our reproductive system. So I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see things coming out in the news after this lunar eclipse that has to do with women's reproductive rights. That's a very real possibility here. So Ceres on another level too so you're going to want to see where this is in your chart, because it's where you're working to free yourself from your maternal imprint, from whatever it was that your home environment was like. You're going to probably be feeling things and having to decide, wait, is this me or is this my mom? Is my mom still in my life? Whether she's crossed over or not, whatever her challenging tendencies that she projected onto everyone in the home, if they were positive, great, but with this T-square here, the issue is what wasn't great. And now how are you different from that, and how much is there maybe still to release with that? So that you can create a more stable foundation and just keep moving forward in brand new ways. Independence, remember, it's always about independence. So Ceres is also connected to grief and separation. So in Capricorn, I'm feeling, on the political side of things, all of those who've been very corrupt, they're going to be separated from their support. This is a pivotal time in history where they're going to be separated from money and support. So that's all I have to say with that. So now the positive aspects coming in here, that's the backdrop. And then don't worry, I'm going to get to how this goes through the different houses of the chart too. But the positive aspects have to do with Ceres up here in the trine to Jupiter and Uranus. Now, I think it's April 20th, these two planets will be conjunct. So this is the buildup to opening something very new. And again, Uranus is all about independence. Uranus is our great awakener. It's all about liberation. It's all about, sometimes it can be kind of shocking and some kind of, a little bit of a disruption. But there's a lot of quick, fast-moving energy here, especially, applying energy, because the applying energy is stronger than the separating energy, or separating the planetary aspects when they're applying. So 14 degrees here and then 15 and 20 here, This is two applying trines. The trine is a fast flow that is usually easy because the reason the flow comes in quickly and easily is because you've already worked on it in the past. So, with Jupiter and Uranus being involved, it could be something quickly that is very liberating, and it would be liberating you from your issues with your maternal home imprint. You'll be able to let that go. And then because of that, it creates opportunities over here because we have Ceres and 2 sextiles to Saturn and Venus. And we've been having this Ceres sextile Saturn, but Venus has moved into the game as well. So here we are with this double opportunity of being able to build a spiritual foundation, or a foundation that's based with more artistic abilities for you, whatever your art is. And I don't judge any type of art. I mean, there are intuitive arts, of course, but any type of art, music, with the power of the feminine and building something strong based on this spiritual feminine foundation. Because these two, Saturn and Venus, Venus was over here on the other side. Remember, we had that stellium, the moon even was there, and we had the sun, the moon. We had, we had a lot going on in Pisces. So all things related to the past, to bringing things to completion, to creating a firm, solid foundation, a spiritual foundation. And there's more opportunity for that. And then there's also the opportunity, because Venus is sextiling Jupiter and coming close to, as Venus moves closer, we'll have it sextiling Uranus. So then that can be a big breakthrough there. Uranus brings in breakthroughs often, right? It's the planet of invention and reinventing yourself as well. So, but this is all good for financial foundations that are created from your spirit, where there's integrity, right? Might not be all about the money, it's more about the integrity. So yeah, and then not only that, we have this trine coming from, now the moon it's waning, so it's not as strong. The moon trining Pluto will actually be stronger the day before, on the 24th, and later in the evening as well. But so yeah, because this is 12 a.m. Yeah, but it's still there. And so the trine is this emotional flow, or fine feeling, subtle flow. We've got subtlety with Libra and Pisces. And so we can be fine-tuning some things to bring in more empowerment in our lives, more freedom and empowerment. Okay, so then we have, this would be the challenges, okay? So with the moon in a sesquisquare here to Uranus, there could be some stubbornness, some emotional stubbornness to hanging on because there's a fear of change, because Uranus is our change agent. So if there's any fear of change, that could come up for someone. And, you can think it through, or with all this Aries energy, you can just go with it. And with all these semi-squares going on here, okay, so let's break them down. Let's go with the Pluto over to Venus, and it's an applying semi-square. Again, women wanting to be in their own power, and they've come full circle, and they're just not having it anymore. Money issues that you're just not having anymore, and there's action taken to get out of a draining situation financially. Mars in the sesquisquare, Oh, I forgot that sesqui square there. Yeah, Mars to the south node again. Stubborn, maybe stubbornly holding on. Someone in victim consciousness stubbornly holding on to relationships in the past. I don't think that's going to work well for them, but that can happen. Let's see what else with Mars in the or semi-square to Chiron, and this is an applying. There's going to be action taken in order to get out of a victim situation, so that you're not victimizing yourself and in that vicious circle of victim, prosecutor, like if you just let me stop giving you money, right? Or if you just stop sucking up all my time, when you're the one that can say, I can't do this. I'm at work right now, that kind of thing. And good relationships with healthy boundaries will be like, oh, I'm so sorry, no worries. And they'll totally understand, and because, they have work as well. But if there's dependency, codependency dynamics, Chiron over here is going to be going, in Aries, is going to be going like, hey, what about me, right? Why is it always about you, kind of a thing. So issues like that can come up. And then there's another little semi-square here coming from, you see how Uranus is here, and then it's over to the Sun. So this can bring in a whole lot of fiery energy that you're just going to do to break free. I don't have another way to say that. Okay, so now let's take all of that. So everything that I've said, let's try and apply it into your natal chart. So if you have, if you have your natal chart there, you want to take that full moon, you want to find 5 degrees of Libra in your chart. So let's pretend it's literally on your ascendant, okay? If that's the case, the ascendant magnetizes, it attracts. So with that power of magnetization, you're going to be able to probably attract relationships or connections. Connections is another key word for Libra. So attracting connections and relationships and engagement and whatever it is that you need to get things going in the way you want it to go. Remember, with this lunation being ruled by Venus, it's all about, what do you want? And if you don't have what you want, what is it that's inside of you that you're blocking to actually not get it? So you're going to be magnetizing situations and relationships to help you take more self-responsibility. The first house is our house of self. It's very unique to you. I can't say that it rules what you look like and all of that. I've never found that to be valid, but it's definitely what you're magnetizing. So you're going to be magnetizing everything you need. It's going to, or you're going to be magnetizing opportunities to figure out all the things that you need and want, so that you can heal, so that you can change your value system if need be. And then, of course, the sun would be over here at your descendant, so there would be a light shining on your relationships, because the descendant has to do with relationships. And let's pretend you have the sun, your natal sun, like let's say you have your natal sun at 5 degrees of Cancer, and it's right here. So that full moon, or no, not 5 degrees, I'm sorry, with 1 degree of orb, it could be Cancer or Capricorn down here, or up here at the midheaven. But if it's down here, let's pretend that you have your sun at 4 or 6 degrees of 4, 5, or 6 degrees of Cancer. If it's the sun, then there's a tension field that's coming in from the full moon, and then the actual sun, the transiting sun over here. And so that would bring in this ability to really, really feel into what is truly going on, based on taking self-responsibility for feeling, because the full moon would be over here, feeling. Now this could be true if it's anywhere in the first house as well, but this is only if you have your natal sun in Cancer, between, like I said, 4, 5, 6 degrees, 4 to 6 degrees. Then, and it comes in, like right here, you have it right here at the AC, or IC, the coli. So the deal with that is there's this full moon shining a light on your past, on everything that has to do with your emotional body and your home and your family. So it could be a double whammy of really understanding how you got to where you are, and from there you can make changes as to what you want in the future. If you're not getting what you want, then you're going to be able to really, truly, deeply understand what's going on. So this could also be really good for really getting a solid, strong foundation, because this is a foundation in your chart. This is that place where you can create stability based on the fact that you want security, right? Now, if it's up here, if it's Capricorn down here, not up here, I'm sorry, I'll get there later. If it's Capricorn down here, because that could also square. So if you have your sun down here at 4, 5, or 6 degrees of Capricorn, then you could be really doggedly kind of determined to have that stability, and you could know how to do it, and you wouldn't mind that hard work of doing whatever it takes to get what you want, because you've got a goal and you're very willing to work with it. And it could be literally building a house. It really could. Or changing something in your home, remodeling, something like that. Capricorns are good that way. But most of all, creating opportunities to create some solid structure. So, okay, now, if it's your moon that is down here, then that's the full moon coming in over here on your ascendant could really just magnify all of those same issues. And that wouldn't matter. I don't think it would matter much if it was in Cancer or Capricorn. It's just that because Cancer's really tenacious, right? And Capricorn's really determined. Well, Scorpio is too. But Capricorn is very willing to, to do the hard work. Well, and Scorpio is as well. They're kind of alike that way. But, I guess maybe what's different is, well, no, I'm not going to say that. No, I'm not going there. Well, actually, here's the way I could say it. Here's the way I could frame it. The difference between a Capricorn and a Scorpio is that a Scorpio might be thinking of ways to go deeper, where Capricorn might just be, because Capricorn's cardinal energy, it moves. Capricorn might just be like, imagine you're building something. Scorpio might be sitting and thinking and figuring out, like, okay, how do I do this an easier way, or how do I go deep to make sure it's right? They might be a little slower with it, where Capricorn might just kind of do it and make some mistakes and then fix the mistakes later, and, it's all good. Whatever your process is, it's all good, because we have our processes for good reasons. So, okay, I think the rest I'll just talk about when I get up there. So, okay, full moon coming in the first house, like I said, it's everything related to yourself, okay? It's related to a deeper understanding of yourself. It's related to more about what you need. And of course, if you have Libra, that that five degrees of Libra is in your first house, you're going to be feeling like, you know what, relationship is really important to me, and but so's my money and so's my fun. It's very social, right? So this could be a really fun full moon for you. Now, if it's in your coming through, if you have Libra in your second house, you're already going to be feeling like an understanding that that relationships are important to you. You are really going to value the relationships in your life, and you're going to be very open to connecting in ways that your relationships would be more based in reflections of what matters to you most. And with all the patterns, like I said, that I went through with the other charts to set that backdrop, I would think that this is going to be a really good full moon for you. I think that it would just be wonderful, just because Venus rules Taurus and Libra. So we are in that area. We're already in that area of relationships and fostering abundance and bringing in more harmony so that things are easier in life, so that we're more safe and stable and strong. So if you don't have relationships like that, you're going to start being more open to them. Okay, so now in the third house brings through decisions and sometimes frustrations. It's an air house, it's ruled by Mercury. So you're going to be thinking, it has to do a lot of times with siblings, but you can see here some of the keywords are like your neighborhood and immediate environment, but that can also be when you're out and about and at work. It doesn't have to be when you're home. Fourth house is definitely when you're home. But so it's the way we think. It's the way based on how we think, that change or determines how we communicate. So it also has to do with our thinking capacity. So with the full moon in Libra coming in here, things are more open to gathering information, to talking to other people, to reading about different things and studying different things, new things, and maybe exploring things in your neighborhood. It's our house of learning, basically. So there's more openness there with the full moon in Libra coming in. Now, the only way we can kind of mess things up with Libra, no matter what house it's in, is to be a little like a fish floundering around. And I know you might think of Pisces when I say that, but sometimes Libra has a hard time committing. Sometimes they get kind of someone with, having a hard time with a Libra transit if, like, I don't know, maybe Pluto on the sun or moon or something like that, or square. It can be challenging if they're manipulating, or if they're just kind of in a polarizing thing, like I was saying before, the us versus them. And that's, you can see here Aries rules the first house here. Libra rules the seventh house, and here we are, self versus relationships. But the seventh house is all about whether or not there's commitment or not. But bringing in the third house in Gemini, if you have Libra there, you might always be kind of thinking about the grass being greener on the other side, kind of a thing. Can be a little challenging. Same thing with the ninth house. So yeah, that's just a little bit of an issue there. And so with the fourth house moving forward, the full moon in Libra coming in there can be like the big happy house that just has everyone over all the time. This full moon could definitely be like that. This rules our family life. This rules our roots, our domestic affairs, and real estate, property. So this full moon in Libra could bring in finding a new home if you're looking for one, or selling a home if you're up, if that's what's going on. If you've had it on the market, the full moon could bring that in. But it has everything to do with our early childhood environment, and then also our older years of life. So you might start thinking when the full moon comes through in the fourth house, and especially in Libra, you might start thinking about, the later, the last chapter of your life, like the later years of your life. It's a very real possibility there. Actually, I can bring this down a little bit if you, just in case you want to tune into those keywords a little more. I should have looked up in my viewfinder. Sorry about that. Okay, so let's move on to the fifth house. And as I'm going through these houses, just remember, even though I'm only talking about the full moon, I'm bringing emphasis onto the full moon because I also know that the sun is in the opposite house. It's shining a spotlight on it. So even though I'm not naming that, I'm holding that as I say these words. So, okay, fifth house. This is our house of free will, willpower. If you're coming from your inner being, you're not really having to will yourself through life. If you're coming from your ego, then everything can be a battle because this is the house of will. Libra here, though, if you have that 5 degrees, or let's say, anywhere between that 3 to 8 degrees of Libra in your fifth house. And sometimes they kind of overlap, like if it's on the cusp, then you would apply it to both houses. This full moon, this eclipse would handle both of those houses. And then that'll change later, but for now, you would be working with both houses. So anyhow, back to the fifth house. It's our house of pleasure, and hopefully you're into positive pleasure. But if you're into negative pleasure, like putting other people down and gossiping and being mean and cruel, this is probably going to have, be a challenge. So I don't think it's any of you guys doing that. But we could look at some politicians and billionaires to maybe fill in the blanks there. But anyway, back to the fifth house. It's our house of, most of all, hands down, creative self-expression. Now, it's also a house of games and fun. It's also a house of courtship and love affairs, all forms of social activities. So anybody with, Libra naturally, natally in this house is going to be someone who likes to be out and about and loves entertainment, maybe even sports, any kind of hobbies. It's a house of hobbies. It's a house of even gambling. It's a house of, what's the right way to say this? Oh, financial speculation, I suppose would be the way. So that's why, gambling and stock markets and things like that. It's also our house that's connected to education and educational, all the institutions connected to education. And connected to the third house in your natal chart, these connect to education. They work together that way. Ninth house is more like college, but we're dealing with childhood years down here. What else? Let's see. It's it's a house that's related to children. So with a full moon there could be a lot of connection with your children if you have kids, no matter what age. Okay, sixth house. This is our house of our daily schedules. This is our house of being useful. It's naturally ruled by Mercury, Virgo. Mercury rules Gemini and Virgo. But, if you have any friends that are Virgo, you know that they love working, they love being in service, they love getting things right, they love getting things, making all those adjustments. I look at this as being the house of adjustments because, you're always trying to get things done in a better way. But it is, so it's our capacity for work and service. With the full moon there, you might feel much, much more enthusiastic about working. But maybe it's because it's more of a social experience for you as well. But it's our house that deals with our nutrition, our diet, like I said, our schedule, and also health care. So if you're someone who takes care of someone else, if you are a caretaker, the full moon here might be a little bit overwhelming. You might have to set some really healthy boundaries best you can, or take really, really good self-care. But the full moon coming in here, I think, would tell you where you need better self-care, if that's the case. It's our house of, you have to be careful when the full moon comes through here, because it can be the house of sickness. But most of all, it's our coworkers, our general working conditions, our ability to get a job and hold down a job, and be efficient on the job. It can also be related to any hazards at work, any occupational hazards. What else? Oh, yeah. Small animals. This would be if you have any desire to be a veterinarian or work with animals in a vet's office. The full moon might bring in that, oh, yeah, I want to do that. And I forgot to say, so sorry, but anyway, being that this full moon is coming in at 5 degrees of Libra, that's within that first decan of the sign. In the first decan, so between 0 and 9 degrees, is forming something new. We're developing something. So I wouldn't be surprised if there has to be at least someone out there saying, yeah, I actually do want to be a veterinarian, or I want to start a business where you pick up, maybe go around like mobile, dog washing, or pet care of any kind. Or shoot, nowadays there's even, and I just absolutely love seeing this. Some commercials I do like to see, and there is, the ones that are, they're selling, real food. It's not and that might be another awareness too, is realizing that just, crunchy dog food in a bag, you might want to check those ingredients, and it might not be so good for their digestion, especially the older they get. It's checking into the healthcare of how you're serving your pets is definitely important. Okay, 7th house, of course, is just simply all relationships with others. It's our interaction. With the full moon coming in here, we will feel more like interacting with others. We will be much more sociable. But it's also those committed relationships, and not only marriage, it's also the house of divorce, business partnerships. It's sometimes looked at as a house of open enemies. So if you've had anybody who's been just, what's the word, like when they're always in conflict and, pushing their problems onto you, and you can't seem to have a peaceful conversation with them, the full moon may definitely bring that to a head. It's our house of love. But it can be, you're an ally or a rival type of a thing, and you'll see about it. It's a house that rules our lawsuits and contracts, and if it's a couple of companies coming together, even, like what would you call that? A merger. A company, a merging, two companies come together, I guess, would be a merger. So with the descendant here, I spoke about that already, and it's really just a point there. These are all just like points in space, but it is a hot point. So if you have the full moon coming in here, there would be more emphasis on all things of the 7th house, and of course the full moon, as it as it starts waning, would still stay in this, in the seventh house for a couple of days, 2.5 days maybe even. So let's move to the eighth house. The eighth house is the house of transformation, all psychic abilities. It relates to death, rebirth, everything that has to do with funerals and, benefits, death benefits. It's your partner's resources. If you have a partner this would be the house of your shared resources with them, and how resourceful you are and they are, and vice versa, and working those things out. It's even the house of recycling. It is the house of legacies, things that you can inherit. It rules insurance. What else? Everything that your partner earns. Oh, it's also personally. It's our house of how well we manage our money, how well we manage our assets. So the full moon coming in there could relate to, letting you know how well you're doing in one department, in that department, any of these departments that I'm talking about. So, okay, what else with the eighth house? Oh, yeah, sex. I think that's it. Just think of it, though, is because it's one of the water houses, we've got Cancer, Scorpio, 4th, 8th, and 12th. These are all water houses, so they're all connected with, this one especially is connected to reincarnation, life after death, near-death experiences that show you your past, and then you end up coming full circle, especially with that Pisces stellium we've got going on. Wow. Okay, ninth house. I love the ninth house. The ninth house has to do with your belief system, but it also rules, so many things. Okay, I'll just go through it one at a time. All things relating to law. So spiritual law, natural law, man-made law. So we're talking, this is a house, and if you have Libra here, you would definitely be a person that really, and especially if you have any planets, that 5, to 8 degrees of conjunction to any planet, that would be super important for as far as a transit for you, to have that lunar eclipse right there on that planet. So you just have to go with the energy of the planet, and like if it's the sun, it's going to illuminate something, make you more aware of your core energy. If it's right on your moon, it's going to help you feel and respond and intuit. If it's Mercury, it's going to help you think better, or maybe think too much at first, but then figure it all out later. If it's Venus, if we have this lunar eclipse coming in on our Venus, then it's going to help you be more full of harmony and making those comparison values that I was talking about before. And it's going to be helpful with your relationships, most of all your relationship with yourself. And then that is the mirror that creates the relationships, because relationships are mirrors, so they're always going to mirror yourself and help you find yourself. Okay, so again, back to self-worth and values, and so Mars, if this full moon is going to hit your full moon eclipse, no less, hit your natal Mars, it's going to help you, it's going to activate something and get your energy moving. Mars moves energy. It's going to help motivate you. And then Jupiter, it's going to help you open things up, open up your belief system. Jupiter does rule the ninth house. Jupiter, again, is related to spiritual law. It's going to help you figure out what you want to invest yourself in. It's going to maybe it's going to make you want to travel a little bit more, or travel, I don't know, in whatever way you want to travel. It could just be a walk around the neighborhood. But it's more, Jupiter is very exploratory. It's also our planet of teaching and learning. You might find your ability, your natural ability to teach. It's related to abundance and, opportunities, growth, expansion. It's also related to fame. It's also related to anything that excess, too much of something, and all or nothing attitudes. Like it's all this, like if it's not this, then it's that, rather than it's this and that. Open up the and, bring the and in. That's how you get out of duality. So Saturn is our planet of form. So the full moon coming in there, the full moon eclipse could bring in your ability to control yourself, not minding delays, not minding the need to work hard. It can help you master something in your life, right? So whatever house your natal Saturn is, and especially when that full moon hits, you've had it many times, you're gonna have more. Anytime the moon hits that natal Saturn, you're gonna be much more enthusiastic about working hard. You won't mind it. So Uranus, that will help you reinvent yourself. It will help you be more open to things like science and technology, computers, astrology even. They have the full moon coming in on your natal Uranus, if you have your natal Uranus at 5 degrees Libra, or 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8 degrees Libra, you would be feeling more energized, I would think. This full moon might be challenging to sleep. You might want to make sure you're very well slept up before this comes, because the full moon might just be like very, very energizing. But it'll help you to wake up to anything that you need to within yourself, and help you detach from things that aren't working good for you, and help you break up if need be. It can be a very catalytic type of experience. But most of all, it will help you have those flashes of insight and intuitive hits that can really help things move along for you. Let's see. Neptune would be next. Now, if you have this full moon coming in, if your natal Neptune is in the 3 to 8 degrees of Libra, this eclipse would hit that point, and you'll be more sensitive. It can help you dissolve false beliefs from the past. It can help you realize where you've been numbing out. It could sometimes get people to resign from something they've been doing that is no longer working. It can help you transcend. It can help you long for being more connected to yourself, to source energy within yourself. Neptune is definitely related to source energy, but it's also related to addictions. It's also related to chaos and being gullible. And it's great for getting visions. It's great for spirituality. It's great for your higher levels of creativity, for imprinting vision, using your envisioning work and imprinting what you want to create, what you're wanting to manifest. But, you just have to be careful that it's not linked to cults and gullibility, things like that. Pluto, lastly, if this full moon if this lunar eclipse is coming in on your natal Pluto, if your natal Pluto is at between 5 and 8 degrees, then this will help bring something up that's been buried. It will bring something up to the light that needs to clear up, and help you become more and more empowered. It'll help strip away the things that weren't working. It will help eliminate the things that weren't working. It can be a little more eruptive, but it'll be cleansing. It'll help you evolve, which is the main thing. It's literally, Pluto is the planet that helps you evolve your soul. And it's linked also to those things that are like non-negotiable. Like somebody says something and you suddenly realize, oh, well, okay, can we work through this? Well, whatever it is, but you'll find your point to stand on, your edge. It can also be the moon to Pluto like that can also be a little obsessive. If you start feeling like you just have to do certain things, even to the point where you're out of balance, especially if you're a Pluto and Libra soul, it's all about finding balance. You're usually good at it, but you have to get to that point where you remember who you are, where you're good at it, and work through the places where you weren't. So we want to be careful with extremes. So, okay, back to the ninth house now. Sorry, I should have said all that stuff in the beginning, but the ninth house is our house of divination. It rules all forms of media. So whatever you really believe in and you're investing your energy in, then you put it out there and publish it, or however, whatever it is. It could just be text messages to friends or one friend. You're putting it out there, basically. It's our house of travel, but long journeys, lengthy journeys, where third house is short term, like stuff around the neighborhood and not too far away, a couple hours away, or maybe just in the same state. This would be further, much further. It's our house of advertising. It's our house of, higher education. So we're talking all universities, but it's also a house of religion, so it can be churches. So whatever, you find, however you find your connection, whatever your personal belief system is, the full moon coming in there will shine a light on how well it's working for you or not, how well you're in balance with that or not. It's also the house that rules horses, big and big forest, big nature. It's our house of in-laws as well. Okay, 10th house. Midheaven first. Okay, it's our point of how we participate with society. I like to use Dwayne Ridger's, he calls the ascendant our purpose, so we are always attracting our life purpose. He calls the IC our personality, because we're pretty much always projecting our personality based on our home, our roots, literally the psychological tendencies we have because of our parents. But that shifts as we grow. He calls the descendant our love, love relationships. Midheaven he calls participation. And so it's how we participate with society, and that is what brings in what you're willing to work for at least 8 hours a day, and then what your reputation is all about with the 10th house. So it's our integrity, it's our house of integrity or lack of, and we'll learn those lessons in very public ways. It's all of our professional interests, it's our business life, it's how we're recognized in our community. It's also our employer. We've got co-workers in the 6th house and then employer over here. The energy, like if you have Libra up here in your 10th house, I would think that the company that you work for, or at least your boss, is very, maybe more balanced, maybe more willing to be social with everyone, more engaging. So, yeah. Libra in the 10th is pretty good, actually. Uh, it brings to mind, I think, Biden. Do I have his? No, I don't have his chart close. I think he has Neptune and Libra up here. I think. I could be wrong. Okay, let's go to the 11th house. 11th house is it's a house of awareness, but it's also goals and friendships and groups, the organizations a person belongs to. So it can be like your tribe, but the tribe can be your 4th house too. It's just more closer tribe or further out extended family. It's the natural direction of your just wanting to connect with anyone and cooperate with anyone. It can be your colleagues at work that are have more of a vision and goal rather than just dealing with the details. But it can be both. 6th and the 11th can kind of both be that way. But to have to have Libra in the 11th house, there would definitely be a lot of social interaction and more geared to like humanitarian affairs usually. And it's it's our house of friendships, hopes, wishes, and goals. So to have the full moon coming in there, it could bring in some new connection. And of course, it's ruled by Uranus. This house is ruled by Uranus, and we're dealing with all things online, right? All types of online meetings. So the 12th house. Now the 12th house has to do with sometimes where we're stuck in limitations and what we're worrying about. But it's also the house of sometimes, needing seclusion. It's a very sensitive, a very psychic house. It's a source. It can be anything that, secrets and things that are hidden, but it's more about your personal private affairs that you have every right to have that privacy. And it's the house of source, and Neptune rules this house, all right? And so, meditation is a real need for anybody on their spiritual path. Self-reflection is a real need for anybody on their spiritual path. You don't get to have yourself if you don't go into yourself. So to have the full moon in Libra and to have Libra in this house, you may very well be super gifted in, connecting, being in touch with any spiritual beings, source energy, yourself, your inner spirit, your core self, could be very, very enhanced with this full moon, with this lunar eclipse coming in the 12th. So other things with the 12th house, besides spirituality and seclusion, it can be either your own self-created prison because you just won't break free because you're feeling fearful, like what's out there kind of thing. Or it can be your freedom because now you have yourself and you're going to put yourself out there because you feel safe. Yeah, it's our house of, if Libra is there, it's our house of relationships, and Venus would be ruling that house for you. And, with Venus now in Pisces, that's not a bad thing. There's a little double nudge there to get you out if you've been kind of in. But going in is necessary. It's also the house of all types of charitable organizations like welfare places, welfare offices and agencies that create support for others. It's also the house of hospitals and rest homes and jails and prisons and detention camps. Oh, goodness. Yeah. So I think that's it. I'm trying to think, is there anything else to add? We're going to have the solar eclipse happening on April 8th, so I'll do a video on that and maybe Maybe I can even, maybe I'll put together some notes and just, that way you can screenshot different things rather than just listening to my words. But anyway, we're also going to have, hold on, let me get back. Yeah, let's go back to the original chart here. Because just a few days after the eclipse, oh, it's okay. I'll just leave it. I was going to raise the camera up a little bit. It's okay. On the 28th, we're going to have Venus and Uranus sextile. So Uranus is here. See how Venus right now is sextile Jupiter? But just in a few days after this eclipse, Venus is going to, so Venus is opening things up with Jupiter. And then when Venus sextiles Uranus, we're also going to have then something maybe come through really quickly. You know, the setup is already here with the trine and the two sextiles. You know, there's a lot of focus here on Venus, and then Venus ruling this eclipse. I honestly think it's just going to be wonderful for most of everyone. And even if it's not, even if you go through some major challenges, just know that, you know, it's something that needed to happen so that you could free yourself. Because life, number one, just know this, life is for you. It's always helping you get back into who you truly are. And I always believe that life is fair. It's just that we're sometimes, when we don't believe that life is fair, it's because we're looking at just a finite slice of time. We're not looking over lifetimes. We're not looking at the evolution of the soul. We're just saying, you know what, it didn't happen, so that just means it's always going to be like that. And then you're stuck in duality. If you're in always or never, you're in duality. Just remember that. If you're ever saying to yourself always or it's never, I guess the best way is to say never say never. If you can do that, you can transcend duality. So, okay, I'm going to get this uploaded and wish you big hugs, as always. Tons of love coming your way. Bye.